Welcome once again, everyone, to our webinar today. Really excited about this new partnership that the PSC is launching with the Sustainable Apparel Coalition. And our webinar today is going to feature special guest Scott Miller from the SAC. Those of you who attended Impact Unleashed with us in May in Denver may remember him. He was a favorite guest speaker of our multi-day events. Scott is the Director of Business Development at the Sustainable Apparel Coalition. For over 10 years now, he has driven environmental impact projects to embed triple bottom line strategies across industries. He has a Master's of Science in Sustainability Management from Columbia University. And we're really honored to have him here today, and again, so excited to launch this pilot project and share with you more about the incredible tools that the SAC has through the Higg Index. Of course, context, as always, we are a community that measures what matters. We, the PSC, are really here to support you, our member companies, in accelerating your pet business. This is yet another opportunity working with the SAC to do just that. Context, once again, this is how we work with all of you, our members, or perhaps soon-to-be members who might be on the line. We really believe in measuring what matters. The SAC tools we're going to see today are another way of doing that. And we work with you to then identify where are those opportunities to improve performance and social and environmental impacts, but really tied to driving business value. That is the key for us at the Pet Sustainability Coalition. And of course, we really want to see you get recognition for your efforts. We want to celebrate your success in the industry, as well as helping you get the word out to consumers and buyers. So a little bit of just context there to place what we're doing today. This is the very last installment of a series we have done themed around the quick impact assessment, which is how we measure what matters with you. And I think what we're going to see today from the SAC and the Higg Index is yet another holistic approach to sustainability. We at the PSC are really big believers in taking that holistic approach and really measuring our impacts in these 5 different areas. And we're really excited to share with you some more tools that do the same. So from here, I am going to, give the keyboard and mouse over to Scott Miller and pass it over to you from here, Scott.
Great. Thank you so much, Carta, and thank you everyone from PSC. It is wonderful for me to be on this call. I really appreciate it, and it's awesome to continue to collaborate with your organization. So with that, I am going to cover 3 topic areas. I'm going to give you a really brief introduction to the SAC, and then I'm going to transition into something called the Higg Index Design and Development Module. And finally, we're going to discuss or release to you some really exciting news around a pilot that we are going to be starting with the PSC, and it's a very exclusive, very unique opportunity for you guys, so we're really excited about that. All right, with that, let me see if I can get this to work. Okay, oops, okay, yeah, awesome, and I apologize in advance for any technological challenges that I face. I just am that way, I guess. So real quick on SAC, it all began back in 2009, where the unlikely pairing of Patagonia and Walmart got together. They recognized there were some growing issues in the industry where everybody was trying to create their own assessments and surveys and audits, and they said, nah, let's align on this. And so they sought to standardize how the apparel, footwear, and broad-based textile industry measures sustainability performance. And from that, they developed a vision for an industry that produces no unnecessary environmental harm and has a positive impact on people and communities associated with its activities. And I just want to stress the fact that it says no unnecessary environmental harm. That is really the humble acknowledgement and recognition that if we're going to create anything, there is an inherent impact. It's just now, how can we actually lessen and essentially eliminate all unnecessary aspects of those environmental impacts? And a lot of that begins with the design phase. So this is hopefully going to be a very helpful conversation or call for you guys. All right. The coalition now is over 210 members from around the world. And I just want to be clear, however, it's not only just member organizations that are working with us. We actually now have over 10,000 factories from around the globe, in fact, 85 different countries, that are participating in one way or another on the Higg Index. So we're very excited about this, and there is steady positive momentum behind adoption of this tool. Before I give you a real quick sense as to, before I transition to the Higg Index and specifically the design and development module, I just want to give you an idea of where we as an organization are headed, because I think it is relevant to you. I had mentioned this in Denver in our talk when I was fortunately able to join you guys for our annual meeting. But just as a refresher for maybe some of you, the Higg Index, we're aiming for it to be the standard for measuring and improving sustainability. So not just measurement, but also improvement. When it comes to product life cycles, we want it to be fully transparent and accountable. And finally, and probably most importantly, we want consumers to be able to choose products based on trusted information. And on the left-hand side, you see a sampling of sort of where we're headed. And if there's probably a good way to describe that, it would be saying that it's kind of like the nutrition label for footwear, textiles, apparel, etc. And that's where we're hoping to head, and we are aiming to do that by 2020. So now moving on to the Higg Index, which is a suite of sustainability tools across the entire supply chain. But we're actually just going to focus on the design phase. And we're going to focus on that in particular because the design phase is an enormous part of products' environmental impact. In fact, 80% more or less is determined at the concept and design phase. So getting that design right can have dramatic effects upon the environmental impact of the products that you create and ultimately sell to consumers. So with that, there's also a challenge and designers are facing, and they're really seeking to improve, but they honestly don't know where to start, and that's not really their fault, it's just a reality. They want to know where in particular, like where in their design they want to be able to focus. And really, ultimately, I think the industry needs to equip designers and developers to be able to make more sustainable product choices. With that, I introduced the design and development module. So the goal of this tool is to design out negative environmental impacts, to use, for designers and product developers to be empowered and essentially assess concept, to assess concept early in production creation. So we want this to happen at the very, very early stage. This is actually before a product is created. So we're talking before sample, right? And what? This is an internal facing score. So this is really important. What I'm about to show you is not for external use or external communication. This is a tool that is going to be strictly internal facing for an organization to make a more informed decision or more informed decisions before they create their products. Now, last but not least, before I go into a demo, on the bottom here, you're going to see that the tool itself is organized in these key areas. It begins with material selection. It then moves to manufacturing processes. It then starts to beg questions of the designer and developer. Hey, what's your plan around care and repair? Finally, when your product is done being used, maybe it's tattered, maybe it's got a stain and the consumer doesn't want to use it anymore. Well, we need to keep those things out of landfill. So what is your plan when it comes to the end of a material or product's use? And last but not least, we have just begun. Now this is a very, very early stage. This is actually an unscored section of this tool, and that's quality and lifetime. So we start to get into the question of durability. Okay. All right. So with that, I am going to hopefully be able to do this. Let's see.
And Scott, I will make you the presenter here.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. So passing it on over to you.
Awesome. Okay. Right. Okay. Cool. I think I'm, hold on. I'm trying to make some progress here. I am trying to show Chrome. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, there we go. Sweet, but that's not what I wanted to show you. Wait a second. Oh, hold on, you guys. See, couldn't go perfectly. All right.
Technical.
Oh,
Folks,
sweet. Okay, I think I got it. How's that look? Is that, can you see the Higg Index product tools page?
yes.
Yay. Okay, so to be clear, I want to make sure you guys know this center box here, the MSI tool, is actually publicly available. There are certain features that are not publicly available, but you or anyone on this call can immediately go to higg.org, product tools, and you will be able to see the Material Sustainability Index. But I'm actually going to log in because I'm going to show you the features that we're really talking about, which is for this demo, which is the DDM. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to cheat here, and I'm actually going to look at a sample product that's already been created. Okay, it's called Julie's Other T-shirt. Now, you can see here, by the way, I might have gone a little bit too fast here, but the design and development module is very easy to use. These tools are real easy. They're real clear. They're real clean. The tool itself, it has some really clear navigation up here on the top that includes a library, a trim library, a product library, a trim library, a material library. It does some analytics. We do not have time to go through all of this stuff, but I'm going to show you the real basics of a product. So Julie's T-shirt is the product I'm going to use and as an example, okay? And like I had mentioned earlier, the tool is organized into these sections, beginning with materials and trim, which has by far the largest weight of impact. And if you can see here on the right, you're going to see these beautiful colors, and you're going to see a score. And this is a tool that provides scoring so that the designer can understand what their choices are doing when it comes to environmental impact. The higher the score, the greater the impact. The lower the score, the lower the impact. And actually, you see here, I can even hover, and I start to get some benchmarking, and I see, oh, turns out that this T-shirt is better than 13% of the T-shirts that have been created on this tool. So there's actually a benchmarking feature that you guys are also going to be able to do, but it's only going to be for you, which is awesome. So as you create products on this tool, you're going to be able to compare them to other pet products. So that should be awesome for you. Now, before I give you a deeper dive into this tool, I want to make sure that you understand that the materials section is where you begin, and that is you need to select materials for your product, right? Or create materials, and actually you can create a custom library for your company. I want to give you a quick example, and I'm going to scroll down. You're going to see here, there's a lot of awesome material types in here. And I'm going to just pick on perhaps nylon. I know that the T-shirt is made out of polyester, but just for the purposes of showing you guys what's going on here, I'm going to show you nylon as an example. So it starts with this base material of nylon, and up here you have benchmarking, and then you can get really scientific. You can start talking about impact. Oh, it turns out that the chemistry score is 13.6. The abiotic resource depletion or fossil fuel use is 14.3, and water scarcity and eutrophication and global warming potential. And all of these points feed into this score. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, oh, This is nylon 6. This is virgin nylon material. Well, you know what? I'm making a leash or I'm making some sort of toy or something, and I want to use nylon. But wow, I really want to reduce my environmental impact. Here's the cool thing about this. You can play around with this tool to determine how you can do that. And you can see that there is a dramatic point reduction if I decide to make my nylon leash out of 100% recycled material, post-consumer, recycled, or pre-consumer. Look at that score. So what I do is I switch here, I swap it. Oh man, my material type just went down dramatically in the way of environmental impact. So this is a really amazing tool. I encourage you to check this out. You can actually check some of this out right now, publicly available. You can see as I'm scrolling here, there's a whole bunch of other things that your designers, your product developers are going to be able to affect change. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but we don't have time to do that. So I'm going to go back to the, I'm going to go back to the design and development module. Oh, I'm having a bit of a technical problem. Oh yeah, here. This is what I want to do. Sorry. And then I'm going to say, okay, I did all that work with materials. Polyester fabric is my material. Then I want to worry about manufacturing, and it starts asking me about questions like, what's your cutting efficiency, right? So like when you make that leash, what are you wasting? Are you wasting only about 20% of that material? Or maybe you have an incredible methodology and you have zero waste. So your cutting efficiency is 100%. Well, that's awesome. Are you applying any finishes? Are you missing any finishes? Care and repair. How does one care for this? Can it just be washed? You know, I know that this is a lot of like apparel-oriented stuff, but we can actually explore expanding these sorts of things with you guys. Is it designed to be repaired? Are there options for end of use, quality and lifetime, general information, and a whole bunch of other awesome things like analytics, which we don't have time to go through, material library, which is where I create all my materials, and things of this nature. Okay, so I know that was really fast. It was a quick tease, but I want to make sure we are able to get through all this presentation and get to questions. So what I'd like to do now, if I can, could we go back to the presentation, Karta, so I can talk about business case?
Yes. I'm going to switch presenter back over to myself.
Thank you.
I will show my screen, go into presentation mode, and here we are.
Very smooth, thank you. So I want to review, in case it has not become somewhat apparent, these are what I would argue 6 fundamental business cases for why the Higg Index product tools, which include the design and development module, the material sustainability index, can benefit your organization. Okay, number 1, this is a tremendous way to identify opportunities to innovate in product development. Number 2, you are going to be able to reduce supply chain risks and improve visibility. And when I say supply chain risks, I mean, if you're using material that is incredibly harmful on the environment, and you have some consumers that are really starting to shift their mindset and say, you know, I want to lessen my environmental impact. I care about my dogs. I run around on trails with them, and I want to make sure the products that I'm buying are not harming the environment. Well, this is going to be a tool that's going to be able to help you identify where in that material selection process you have some risk. You're going to be able to strengthen supply chain relationships. The designers can play around with this tool, and then they can identify ways to improve, and then they can engage raw material suppliers and say, hey, we want to lessen our environmental impact, and this is how we want to do it. How can you deliver on this? Maybe they can't, and maybe it's an opportunity for new material providers to be selected. Developing sustainability knowledge. So there's some pretty technical stuff going on in here. This is an amazing opportunity to develop and further knowledge. Collaboration, well, that's exactly what you're doing right now with PSC. And reduce environmental impact is, I'm sure that's been obvious. So with that, in closing, I'd now like to switch the gears over to Karta, where Karta is going to introduce the pilot opportunity. Karta.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Scott. Much appreciated. Again, we are thrilled to be launching this pilot project in collaboration with you and the Sustainable Apparel Coalition. So just to give you all an overview of what this pilot project looks like, this is an opportunity for designers in your companies who are working on hard goods. You'll have the opportunity to evaluate as many different potential products as you would like. Get that comparative impact score, and as Scott really detailed, this is an opportunity to, at the outset, before you even get to sample, really be looking at, your material choices and what those impacts look like. You can use this for existing products, as well as, how can we innovate those products? What's the next iteration look like? This is something that can really support external communications around both supply chain risk as well as building into your brand story the ways in which you are measuring what matters and dedicated to really sourcing sustainably and mitigating your environmental and social impacts. It's a really great time to jump in with these tools before, at the very outset of prototyping a new product. And of course, everything in the platform is absolutely anonymized. So your products will be benchmarked against other companies' products of similar materials, but it's completely anonymous who's making what and what it is. You can learn a lot more from this link. The slide deck will go out to all of you after the webinar today. There are some really great resources online that have really short, quick video clips that address frequently asked questions. So a ton of resources available to you through this pilot. And timeline, so we are looking to launch this in early October. We will have 60 days of access exclusively to you as PSC members, up to 10 of you. You get ongoing support from myself and from folks at the SAC. We'll start things off with a very in-depth live training session. That'll be for your designers, ideally on October 10th. And we'll have some live Q&A sessions throughout the process so that as your designers are in there experimenting, they can touch base directly with the SAC folks to get their questions answered and make the most of this tool. And at the end of this pilot, we really want to know how it's worked, what's been great, what you've learned, what could be better. And this is an opportunity for all of us at the Pet Sustainability Coalition, all of you in our community, to really be participating in industry-wide innovation in lessening our impacts. So just real quick, there is a cost associated with this. Those of you that are already members, you'll have an annual membership project credit. And if you have if your credit is above 500, you can actually apply that and participate. If you actually don't have any credit left, if we've already done a project this year, consider increasing your membership or paying an additional fee. We are also more than happy to provide scholarships to any companies that are interested in participating and things are perhaps a little bit snug right now. We absolutely understand that. We are a nonprofit and really here to serve industry-wide innovation, and you are members. So with that, I am going to ask if there are any questions, and it looks like we had one pop in the question box. Yes, Scott?
Yeah, Carta, I see, thank you so much for that. I see a question from Paul, and Paul, that's an excellent question. Products that are recyclable, well, basically, I'll put it back to you. So the design and development module, as you hopefully could see there, goes through the process of, like, if you have a design, a physical design in mind, the design and development module is going to empower you to be able to ask necessary questions that will bring you to the point at which you would be ready to produce a sample. Now, the material selection, let's say, for example, that you decide that you're creating, I'm just gonna talk about a very highly recyclable material type. Okay, let's go with polyester. Polyester these days, for whether you know or not, is actually in a really strong position to be easily recycled. Very easy these days. So if you said, oh, I'm going to use virgin polyester, but your whole thing is you want recyclable products, well, this tool is not going to necessarily, it's going to ask you if you're in the position of being able to recycle it, but the recycling of the material into to be reused as another material is something that you're going to have to source. Now, on the Higg Index, there are thousands and thousands of facilities around the world, many of which are in fact recycling facilities. We can talk. I'll talk to I'll talk to Carta and Caitlin about sort of that angle, whether or not we can perhaps explore identifying some of these recycling companies, recycling factories. But the recyclability of a material type is something that you're going to have to determine outside of the tool, but the tool will empower you with the ability of identifying what materials are readily recycled that you can use. I hope that made sense. It's a little bit tricky.
It looks like Paul has responded here just by saying that he develops the products using Reprieve, and they are going to take back scraps and returns in their take-back program.
Oh, awesome. Okay, that's a beautiful thing. So that's great. Good for you. Oh, awesome. Steffi, yay. Okay, that's great.
Just getting some nice feedback from Steffi Volo. Thank you so much, Steffi. Are there any other questions at this point? Please pop those into the question box or raise your hand and I can try to unmute you. Actually, it looks like I was just able to unmute you, Paul, if you'd like to say anything more.
Oh, are you guys still there?
We are.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, thank you very much for this webinar. It's very interesting to see the collaboration between the apparel side and the pet side.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul.
So, any other questions from folks at this point?
There was one thing, since there's no questions, we're coming up to time. I just want to make sure I convey one thing that's really cool about this pilot also. I didn't really have the time to go into this benchmarking concept, but what essentially you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to tag, for lack of other technical terms, you're going to be able to tag your products, right? And ultimately, when you create these samples, remember, they're going to be only visible by you and your company and your colleagues only. You're going to be able to determine how well that product is scoring compared to other products that only those in your pilot are going to be creating. So I think that's a really cool opportunity. That is not something that we have actually done with anyone before. So that's a special little opportunity there, and it's going to be like, it's almost gamifying this. It's almost challenging. It's like, hey, designers, are you up for the challenge? You can really make this an internal challenge to play around with this, to explore whether or not you can use this tool to help spark innovation to lessen environmental impact.
And this is exactly why we so enjoy collaborating with you, Scott, and with the Sustainable Apparel Coalition. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions you may have or questions you may have for Scott. I'll be sending out the slides after this webinar, and we're really excited to launch this project. So please reach out, get involved. This is such a great opportunity for all of us member companies to be doing some exciting collaboration and driving innovation. So go ahead and reach out, and we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you over the next few months. At that point, thank you so much for participating in this webinar. You can find all of the webinars from this series on our website. and we've done quite a few covering different areas of sustainability performance. Once again, it's a holistic approach that we take, and Scott, such an honor to be collaborating with you. Thank you so much for your time and attention today, and for the great work that you do over at the SAC.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful day.